Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Kelly K Consulting. Day three, day three of the Start Small Challenge. I've heard from several of you via email about starting small, about your challenges. So, where have we been so far? So, day one, we tried to pick something. We tried to pick that one thing that we wanted to start on. So, I'd love a little check mark, a little smiley face, something in the comments to let me know. Did you watch day one? Did you watch day one? Day two, which it was yesterday, we looked at we just did some coaching, didn't we? We tried to think about different areas where we needed help. Hey, Joan, good afternoon. And we do need help sometimes, right? And so we did a little bit of mini coaching, and I know that several of you have worked with me in coaching. So it was super cool to have those of you on the call. So here we are, day three, distraction, retraction. And why did I want to talk about this? Because, whenever you step up and you start with goals, hi, Sean. You know what's going to happen? Murphy wants to move in. Murphy wants to move in and say hello. Okay, so here's my Murphy. I don't know if you can see, these are label sheets and some Christmas cards. So late last night, finally got my labels done and was sitting at my desk just kind of slapping labels on the envelopes. And my husband came in, he said, are you ever going to go to bed? When you think you're not as tired as you really are, well, that's what happened. So this morning, before I started my workday, I was looking at those labels and realized that in my mail merge, I failed to put the state on the labels. I mean, half of them were already on the envelopes. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? Because remember, we've got that perfectionism bent, some of us, that little bit of overdue. And I had spent money on these envelopes. These aren't just envelopes that I can go out to the store and just grab. This is something that I ordered. And I thought, okay, you got to do what you tell other people, progress over perfection. So I redid the mail merge real quick. I reprinted the labels, and then I'm very carefully putting the new label on over the old label. And do I love it? No. Is if somebody is going to fixate on that, then I guess my card's not very meaningful. But it's one of those things where I thought, there was a side of me, y'all. There was a side of me. I want to know. I'd love to know if you can feel me on this. That really just wanted to rip up the envelopes, redo the order, and start over. But I know what shipping's like, especially for this year. If I were to restart that order, I'm out more money. Secondly, I don't know if I'm going to get them in time to be able to send them out. And so I kind of did this little way, right? But you know what? That was a distraction this morning. It was a distraction from me getting on with my workday. It was a distraction that angered me and aggravated me. And then I thought, okay, how am I going to overcome this? By the way, there were some roadblocks in there too, wasn't there? Because I had to think about, how do I get around the mistake? It was an innocent mistake. It was just what it was. I could sit here and beat myself up all day about it if I wanted to. It's not going to be really get me anywhere. And I thought, okay, what can I do to triage this? And so that's why I wanted to make sure to put this in day three of our Start Small Challenge, because I want you to keep in the back of your mind when you set these goals and you have something planned. I know one of you is building a house right now. I'll bet, just might, have some different roadblocks that have come up within building that house. There may have also been some distractions. There may have been days. Today is incredibly gray here in Middle Tennessee. And there may have been days when you were like, I'm just going to go get my comfy blanket and crawl back up. I can't do that with a full-time job, but there are still days when I feel like it. And so we always have those roadblocks and distractions. I want to add into that sometimes when you're working on something, it may get messier first. And you've got to allow yourself just to kind of breathe through that. When you're working on a project, that is absolutely something that happens sometimes, doesn't it? Things will get a little messier first. I've learned when my husband is out in the garage working on a project, not to go out there and feel the need to start cleaning. It's not the time. It's not the time But if he's out there and he's got the saws going and he's working on a project, y'all have seen some of his work. It's right behind me, isn't it? I mean, he does beautiful work. But I've learned that when he's in the midst of that work, there's going to be some mess. There is going to be some mess to make the progress that he needs to for the finished project. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to that? For those of us that have that analysis paralysis, sometimes this is our straight up roadblock and distraction because we just overthink it. We're pondering it. We're over planning. We're going through the details. And what we're trying to do in so many times, and when we're doing that, is we're trying to grasp for control. Grasp for control. And I understand. I understand that. This year has hit us more and more how much we don't have control. But there's one thing we do have control over, and that is our reaction. Now, that's a muscle we have to build, especially if you're someone like me and you kind of instantly react and you immediately have an opinion and a thought. There's some muscle building that has to happen. On the flip side of it, if you're someone that does do a lot of inner thinking, you kind of stay in your head. There are some of us that are verbal processors, that are others that are kind of constantly processing in your head. And what I want to offer to you is if that becomes paralyzing because you're processing so much in your head, give yourself a place, a way maybe to distract yourself. Now, I know that we talked earlier about getting rid of distractions, but when we're in that paralysis mode, sometimes what you need is a distraction. I'll give you a personal example just from a couple of days ago. There is a band, I'm not going to name them, out there, and they have a song that I've put off downloading on my phone for a while. But I just love the beat of the music and I just love the energy that it gives me. And so the other day I went and kind of, went through their songs and was very careful about what I was picking because some of their stuff is kind of rough. And I picked a couple songs and put them on my phone. And for the last couple of days, even this morning while I was getting ready, instead of listening to my usual news cycle that I will listen to while I'm getting ready in the morning, I just put those songs on and just put them on repeat. And thankfully, there's no windows that you can see in the bathroom because nobody needs to see Kelly. I think the word is Balter, Balter. Somebody can look that up. Balter is kind of like a lane from Seinfeld's kind of dancing. And no one needs to see Kelly do that, but it freed me. It freed up the stuff that was going over and over and over in my mind. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to that? So as we look at these roadblocks and distractions, I want to give you a few takeaways. One, do as much as you can to be aware of it. If you know you reach a certain place where you get overwhelmed and you start to overthink and you shut down, get help. Get help, whether it's in the form of a crazy song, and you want to private message me, I'll tell you a couple songs and then you can judge me later. If it's in the form of a crazy song, if it's in the form of a person, you're absolutely right, what I just said. That is something that I do with my clients. My clients can sometimes end up in that overthinking analysis paralysis. I got to steal a drink of water, sorry. And what I do is I help them break that out into steps. We break out those big things that are holding us back. And so sometimes it's getting help. I've talked about that paper project. One of the things that I did to move that thing down the field, to get that ball down the field to finish, is I thought, you know what? What's the best and highest use of my time? So I hired somebody that I trusted. She's a college student, and it was a mutual benefit. I paid her, and she accomplished something for me that I desperately needed. And she sorted those papers for me. When those papers were sorted, then I was able to quickly decide what needed to be filed, what needed to be thrown away. I hope if you didn't listen to day 2, go back and listen. You'll hear my crazy story of what I do when I don't have a shredder. And so I just basically thought about where can I get help that's going to help me move that project down to the finish line. And y'all, the project is finished. It's finished. That bucket of papers had been sitting on an end table up in our bonus room for more months than I really care to admit because it was that delayed decision making. Can you relate? Can you relate? So sometimes it's providing yourself a distraction if you're in that paralysis mode. It's providing yourself a way, go throw on a silly song, let yourself do something that's completely separate from what you are fixating and thinking through. Sometimes it's getting help. Sometimes it's getting someone to help you move that ball down the field. And it's also recognizing that, yeah, if it's a big project, sometimes it might get a little messier before it's complete, and giving yourself permission to know that's okay. Just like when my husband's out there working on the garage in the garage on a project, I really just don't go out there very much, y'all. As a matter of fact, on big projects, he's actually turned around and looked at me and says, "Don't you have somewhere to be?" Not so much this year, but I do go find something else to do. I'm not helping him, by the way, and I know that when he gets done with that project, it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be done and everything is going to be so tidy. Thank you, Sean, for what you just put there. Hard to ask for help. Yeah. The when I first I think our generation, because Sean and I kind of came up in the same area, there was a lot of, shields up and don't show any semblance of failure or weakness. And I defy that now. I really do. I read something this morning where the guy who is one of my favorite authors, he writes some really great books. He actually wrote a book called Finish, and I love talking about Finish. And one of the things he did today is he talked about strategic failure. And I thought, ooh, I'm looking forward to reading that. But it is hard to ask for help. But what I've learned is that often it's mutually beneficial. I'll give you a real example. So, Sean, I'm really glad you threw this comment in. There's a lady that I've known for a few years through some networking groups. And she just strikes me as having it all, right? She runs her own business. She's had her own business since the 90s. She walks into a room and carries herself with confidence and aplomb and just is well spoken. And the other day I was sitting and eating lunch and I just really felt the urge to reach out to her. And I was scared. I was scared because I thought, oh, what if she doesn't think very much of me anymore? What if she's not sure what to do with me and so on? Well, I wrote her a letter, an email, and I said, I have just admired you for years. And she's always been an encourager and giving people ideas. And I said, here's something that I've got a roadblock on. And it has to do with my public speaking. I love public speaking, and I've just been trying to strategize on how to get more speaking engagements. Once people have me come out to speak, they never regret it. I know that sounds cocky, but they just don't. They usually have me back. It's getting that first engagement sometimes. So I reached out to her and I said, I'd love some ideas. You know what's so interesting? She wrote me back within the hour and she said, "Your note is exactly what I needed today." She has been isolated. She lives alone. She's used to traveling the world literally. And this year shut her down. This year shut her down, right? And she said, "Your note was so encouraging. I'm thrilled to be able to help you. Let's get on a call." So she and I got on a call within 48 hours, had a great conversation. There's actually, and this is what made me so excited, there's actually something I can help her with. How cool is that? How cool is that? I'm so glad I listened to that inner voice that said, call her, that said, call her, call that specific person for help. And she kind of opened up and moved aside some roadblocks. She even sent me, she wrote up a template for an email that I can use to send out to prospective clients about speaking at their organization. Y'all, I mean, and that was me asking for help. And then she is getting used to this whole virtual world. And so I'm going to work with her on that. When we ask for help and we're honest and we're sincere and we're looking to get something down the field, it is amazing the reciprocity that can come from that. Just like that young woman who's working on becoming a nurse practitioner and she's a newlywed. And so paying her to sort my papers, I know her, I trust her. And so I knew she wouldn't look at those papers and abuse any of the information in them, right? And she got my ball down the field, and I was able to help her a little bit as well. That is where I always encourage people seek help. I'm here for you. You know I'm here for you. If you want to get on a discovery call, when I finish up this video today, I will put the link to my calendar app. One of you on this call, I owe you a call as a result of you being in my coaching program. So I owe you a call. And Michelle, thank you. Yay. I'm so glad to see you on the line. You're one of the people that I used a little bit of that script with, I got to tell you. But I'm so glad to see you on the call today. So, day three today, again, we looked at roadblocks and distractions because we're going to have them. Sometimes things are going to get messier first, and that's okay. Tomorrow, we're going to do a little celebrate time. I really want to just do a review of everything we've covered this week. I want you to celebrate you as we look at December and as we look back over the year. I know you've had some accomplishments this year. I know you've had some silver linings in some icky and some things that just haven't been so wonderful, right? I know you have. So tomorrow at noon Central Time, that's what we're going to talk about. Also, feel free to email me if there's something that you missed in these videos or there's a little bit of extra coaching you want, something you want me to talk about. It's simply Kelly at kellyknowles.net. I'll put that in the comments when I finish up as well. But if you've got something where you're like, okay, Kelly, you got me this far. Now I got to get through these next three steps. How do we do it? Love the opportunity to talk about that tomorrow as well. So if you need to go out there and download a crazy song, if you need to get some help with another person, if you need to just accept that things might get a little bit messy while you're moving that ball down the field. Last thing, I actually put together a workbook. It was reviewed by some of my coaching clients in my next coaching series, and they gave me some great feedback. I have a workbook called Distraction Retraction, the Distraction Retraction Workbook. If you'll send me a message today, put something in the comments, make sure I have your email address. I will send you that workbook. I'd love for you to take a look at it. And as a thank you for tuning in here at noon on a gray Saturday, I wanted to make sure that I send you that. If you catch this video later, because I know we don't all get to jump on Facebook when we want to, we got jobs. I got one to go back to myself. Just shoot me a message and I will make sure to email you that workbook, the Distraction Retraction Workbook. All right, you know where to find me. I'm honored that you all have stuck with me, that you've participated in the last few days. I'm thankful for you. I really mean that. And I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. I'll see you.